if you're still awake. Tonight, we're traveling to a quiet valley in medieval Europe, where the mornings always began with the sound of church bells drifting across green hills. Before we begin, take a slow, comfortable breath. Allow your shoulders to relax, settle beneath your blanket, and let the steady rhythm of history carry you gently towards sleep.
The bronze rested quietly inside its thick clay mold. Nothing seemed to happen. No glowing light escaped through the surface. No sound emerged from within. Only warmth slowly spread through the workshop, carrying the faint scent of heated earth and metal. The visiting monk stood beside the mold, waiting. After several minutes, he finally smiled. "I expected something more." The bellmaker nodded. "Most people do." He carefully placed another wool blanket over the mold. "The important work has already happened. It simply takes time for the world to notice." The monk considered those words. They seemed to describe far more than bells. For the next 3 days, very little changed. The mold remained untouched. Each morning, the bellmaker placed one hand gently upon the clay, feeling, not measuring. By afternoon, he repeated the same quiet ritual. By evening, once more. The monk watched with growing curiosity. "You never open it?" "Not yet." "How do you know when it's ready?" The bellmaker smiled. "The bell tells me." The monk laughed softly. "You listen to everything." The craftsman looked toward the furnace. "Everything speaks. We simply forget how to hear it." Life in Saint Verin continued peacefully around the workshop. Children chased one another across the village square. Farmers repaired fences before winter. Women gathered apples from old orchards. Every evening, the church bell echoed across the valley, calling neighbors home before darkness settled over the hills. Whenever it rang, the bellmaker quietly paused whatever he was doing, never for long, only long enough to listen, almost as though greeting an old friend. On the 4th morning, he finally nodded. "It is time." The monk hurried into the workshop. The heavy wool blankets were carefully folded away. The clay mold had cooled completely. Its surface felt smooth beneath the bellmaker's fingertips. Without speaking, he selected a small wooden mallet. The monk stepped closer. "You break it?" "It has already served its purpose." One gentle strike, a thin crack appeared. Another, then another. Soon the hardened clay began falling away in small pieces. Neither man hurried. Every fragment was removed by hand. Slowly, the bronze bell began revealing itself beneath the broken shell. At first, only its crown appeared, then its shoulders. Finally, its entire graceful shape emerged into the morning light. The quiet monk smiled. "It is beautiful." The bellmaker said nothing. Instead, he carefully brushed away the last traces of clay with a soft horsehair brush. Bronze glowed warmly beneath the sunlight entering through the workshop window. Its surface reflected gentle shades of gold and amber. Simple vines circled its upper edge, small oak leaves intertwined between them. Nothing extravagant, only quiet beauty. The monk reached out to touch it. The bellmaker gently raised one hand. "Not yet. It is still sleeping." The visitor withdrew his hand immediately. "I didn't know bells slept. They rest before finding their voice." The next task required even greater patience. For 2 full days, the bellmaker polished every inch of the bronze. Fine sandstone, soft linen cloth, natural beeswax. Again and again, tiny imperfections disappeared one by one, not because anyone would notice them from the church tower, because the bellmaker would. The monk finally asked, "Does anyone truly see all this work?" The craftsman smiled. "No." "Then why do it?" "Because I do." Silence returned. It seemed the workshop itself approved of the answer. Late that afternoon, the bellmaker carried the bell outside. A sturdy oak beam stood beside the stream. Strong ropes suspended the bell above the grass. The valley lay completely still. Even the breeze seemed to pause. The monk watched very carefully. "Will you ring it now?" The bellmaker slowly shook his head. "Not yet." He reached inside the bell and gently attached the newly carved wooden clapper. Oak, smooth, perfectly balanced. He stepped back, closed his eyes. Then, with only 2 fingers, he gave the bell the gentlest touch imaginable. A single note drifted into the afternoon air. Soft, deep, warm. The sound floated across the stream, through the nearby meadow, and into the pine-covered hills beyond. Neither man moved. The note seemed to linger long after the bell itself had become silent. Finally, the bellmaker opened his eyes. He smiled only once. It found its voice. The monk whispered, "I have never heard a bell sound like that." The bellmaker looked toward the distant mountains. "No, you heard a valley answering it." As the echo slowly disappeared beyond the hills, a rider appeared on the distant road. His horse carried the colors of the royal court, and fastened securely behind the saddle was a long wooden chest bearing the seal of the king himself.
The following morning began before the sun had climbed above the eastern hills. A thin layer of mist rested quietly across the valley, softening every rooftop and meadow into shades of pale gray. The bellmaker opened the heavy wooden doors of his workshop as he had done for countless mornings before. Cold air drifted inside. He breathed deeply. The day smelled of damp earth, pine trees, and wood smoke from distant cottages. Without speaking, he picked up his broom and swept the stone floor. Small bronze shavings glimmered faintly in the morning light. Every piece was collected carefully and poured into a small clay jar. Nothing was wasted. Bronze had taken too much effort to dig from the earth to be treated carelessly. Once the workshop was clean, he walked toward the furnace. He stacked dry oak logs with slow precision, kindling, larger branches, then thick pieces of seasoned wood. A spark caught. Soon the flames began their familiar dance. The fire would need hours before it became hot enough to melt bronze. The bellmaker never argued with time. Some things could only happen at their own pace. While the furnace slowly awakened, the visiting monk explored the workshop. Every shelf held bells in different stages of completion. Some were only rough clay molds. Others had already been cast, but still waited to be polished. Several gleamed softly in the morning light, their surfaces decorated with simple vines, stars, and carefully carved crosses. The monk noticed something unusual. No 2 bells looked exactly alike. Each possessed its own quiet personality. One carried delicate ivy leaves curling around its shoulder. Another displayed tiny wheat stalks. A third showed only a single ring of plain lines near the crown. The monk smiled. "You never repeat the same design." The bellmaker looked up from arranging his tools. "Neither do trees." The monk laughed softly. "I suppose they don't. If every tree grows differently, perhaps every bell should too." The visitor walked farther into the workshop until he discovered dozens of wooden patterns hanging neatly from pegs upon the wall. Large circles, small circles, curved wooden guides, metal measuring rods worn smooth by years of use. What are these? They decide the bell's voice. The monk tilted his head. I thought bronze decided that. Bronze gives strength. The shape gives music. The bellmaker lifted one curved wooden template. He held it beside a half-finished mold. A bell sings because every curve belongs exactly where it should. The monk examined the template more closely. Its edge had become polished by countless hands. Did your father make this? No. Your grandfather? The bellmaker gently shook his head. I made it as an apprentice. You still use it? Every week. The monk smiled. Old tools seemed difficult to replace. The bellmaker quietly nodded. Good tools become old friends. Outside, the valley slowly awakened. Farmers led horses toward distant fields. Children carried buckets from the village well. Shepherds guided sheep toward green hillsides. Soon, the first bell of St. Veron rang softly across the morning air. The monk listened carefully. It has a beautiful sound. The bellmaker stopped working for a moment. He closed his eyes, only for a few seconds. Then he smiled. It was made 43 years ago. You can recognize it? I remember every bell. The monk was genuinely surprised. Even after so many years? I remember where each one began. He touched the side of the furnace. The fire remembers too. As the morning passed, the furnace grew hotter. The orange glow deepened until it became almost white. The bellmaker placed several bronze ingots beside the opening. Each had already been weighed. Not by guessing, by careful balance. Too much copper, the bell would become dull. Too much tin, it might crack during winter. The proportions had been learned through generations, not from books, from experience. The monk watched every movement. You never write these measurements down. The bellmaker smiled. My hands already know them. Large iron tongs lifted the first ingot. Slowly, the bronze disappeared into the glowing furnace. Another followed, then another. The solid metal gradually surrendered to the fire. Within an hour, it flowed like thick golden honey beneath the dancing flames. The bellmaker stirred the molten bronze with a long iron rod. Tiny sparks floated upward into the dim workshop. The monk stepped back instinctively. It looks dangerous. It deserves respect. There was a difference. The bellmaker never feared the furnace, but neither did he underestimate it. For many years, he had watched careless craftsmen hurry their work. Some had suffered terrible burns. Others had produced bells filled with hidden weaknesses. Impatience always left its mark. By afternoon, the clay mold prepared for St. Michael's Abbey rested beside the furnace. It stood nearly as tall as the monk's waist. Layer after layer of carefully dried clay surrounded the hollow space where the bronze would soon flow. The bellmaker walked slowly around it, looking, listening. Finally, he gently tapped the side with his knuckle. A soft sound echoed through the workshop. He nodded. It's ready. The monk frowned. You can hear that? The mold speaks. What does it say? It trusts us. The monk smiled. You speak to bells. I listen first. As evening approached, the moment finally arrived. The bellmaker carefully opened the furnace. Brilliant light filled the room. Molten bronze shimmered like liquid sunlight. The monk held his breath. Every movement became slower, more deliberate. With steady hands, the bellmaker tilted the great crucible. The glowing metal flowed into the waiting mold. Not too quickly, not too slowly. A single shining stream. The workshop fell completely silent until the last drop had disappeared inside. Then the bell-maker gently lowered the empty crucible. He looked at the mold for a long moment. It has begun. The monk smiled. When will we hear it ring? The bell-maker quietly covered the mold with thick wool blankets. Not tomorrow, not next week. First, it must learn how to become a bell.
The apprentice introduced himself as Adrian. He could not have been more than 16 years old. His hands were rough from years spent beside a blacksmith's forge, yet they moved carefully whenever they touched a tool. The bellmaker noticed that immediately. Strong hands were common. Careful hands were rare. "You've traveled far?" Adrian nodded. 3 days. "And your master sent you here willingly?" "Yes. He said I could learn how to shape metal." The bellmaker smiled gently. "No." Adrian looked confused. "You came here to learn patience." The following morning began with neither bronze nor fire. Instead, the bellmaker handed Adrian an old wooden broom. "The workshop first." The boy blinked. "I thought we would begin making bells." "We are." Adrian looked around. "I don't understand." "You will." Without another word, both men began sweeping the stone floor. Every corner, every shelf, every workbench. Bronze dust collected into small piles that shimmered in the morning light. Adrian worked quickly, too quickly. The bellmaker quietly watched him. When the floor was finished, he knelt beside one corner. A thin line of bronze fillings still rested beneath a heavy workbench. He pointed without speaking. Adrian's face turned red. "I'm sorry." The bellmaker simply handed him the broom again. By midday, the workshop was spotless. Only then did the bellmaker unlock a long wooden cabinet standing against the back wall. Inside rested dozens of tools. Some looked older than the workshop itself. Wooden calipers, iron compasses, small carving knives, bronze scrapers polished smooth by generations of use. Adrian reached toward one beautifully carved measuring tool. The bellmaker gently stopped him. "Not that one." "Why?" "It belonged to my teacher." Adrian quickly withdrew his hand. "I'm sorry." "You don't need to apologize. You simply need to ask." The bellmaker selected a simple wooden ruler. "This one. It measures just as well." Adrian smiled. "So why keep the old one?" The craftsman looked at the worn handle. "Because it reminds me." "Of what?" "That someone taught me before I knew anything." Outside, the giant mold for the cathedral bell continued drying beneath a wooden shelter. Each afternoon, the bellmaker walked slowly around it, sometimes touching its surface, sometimes saying nothing at all. Adrian watched from a distance. Finally, he asked, "What are you looking for?" "Cracks." "I don't see any." "Good. Then why keep checking?" The bellmaker smiled. "Because cracks rarely ask permission before appearing." Several days later, the furnace burned hotter than it had in years. The time had come to prepare the bronze. Adrian's eyes widened as ingot after ingot disappeared into the blazing fire. The workshop filled with waves of shimmering heat. The bellmaker handed the young apprentice a long iron stirring rod. Slowly, Adrian stirred with all his strength. The bellmaker quietly shook his head. "Not with your arms." "Then with what?" "With your breathing." Adrian frowned. "My breathing?"
When you hurry, the rod hurries. When you become calm, the bronze does too." The apprentice laughed. "I've never heard anyone teach metal this way." The bellmaker smiled. "I've never believed metal was the lesson." As the bronze slowly melted, Brother Lucian sat quietly near the doorway, writing in a small notebook. Not about measurements, not about temperatures. Instead, he recorded the bellmaker's simple sayings. "Good work is rarely loud. Strong hands are useful. Gentle hands are unforgettable. Every bell rings farther than its maker walks." He smiled as he wrote. Perhaps future generations would appreciate these words as much as the bells themselves. Late that evening, the three men shared a simple supper outside the workshop. Fresh bread, goat cheese, warm vegetable stew. The sky slowly filled with stars. Adrian looked toward the valley below. Church bells echoed faintly from distant villages. So many bells. The bellmaker nodded. "Yes. Have you made them all?" He smiled softly. "No, just enough." The apprentice thought for a moment. "I think I'd like people to remember my work one day." The bellmaker looked into the fire. "There is nothing wrong with that. But first, make something worth remembering." Before sunrise the next morning, a heavy fog settled across St. Veron. The village disappeared beneath a blanket of white mist. Even the church tower could barely be seen. As Adrian opened the workshop doors, he noticed a lone figure standing quietly outside, an elderly traveler wearing a faded blue cloak. In his hands, he carried a small bronze bell no larger than an apple. Its surface was worn smooth by centuries of use. The old man bowed respectfully. "I was told this is the only place left where someone might still know who made this bell."
The following week became the busiest the workshop had seen in many years. Before sunrise each morning, carts began arriving from neighboring villages. Some carried bronze pots that had cracked beyond repair. Others brought broken church bells that had fallen silent after decades of faithful service. A few families even arrived carrying old cooking kettles that had belonged to grandparents long gone. The bellmaker accepted each piece with quiet gratitude. Nothing was too small, nothing was turned away. Bronze, he often said, deserved another life. A cracked bell could become a new one. A worn kettle might one day ring across a cathedral square. Metal never truly disappeared. It simply changed its purpose. The visiting monk watched as the growing collection filled one corner of the workshop. There must be enough bronze already. The bellmaker shook his head gently. Enough weight, not enough memory. The monk looked puzzled. Memory? The craftsman picked up the broken fragment of an old village bell. Its surface had been worn smooth by rain and countless winters. This bell welcomed children into the world. It blessed marriages. It mourned funerals. It carried hundreds of years of ordinary lives. He carefully placed the fragment beside the other bronze. "I'd like a little of that to live on." Word spread quietly through St. Veron. The bellmaker had accepted the king's invitation. Villagers stopped by not to interrupt, but simply to watch. Children sat beneath the old oak tree outside the workshop. Their parents spoke softly among themselves. Nobody expected entertainment. Watching careful work was peaceful enough. One little girl finally gathered the courage to ask, "Will it be the biggest bell in the world?" The bellmaker smiled. "No." "The best?" He smiled again. "I hope it will simply be useful." The girl thought for a moment, then nodded as though that were somehow an even better answer. Preparing such a great bell required more than bronze. The mold itself would take weeks. Clay from the riverbank, fine sand from the eastern hill, Horsehair mixed into the outer layers to prevent cracking, straw for strength. Every material had its place. The visiting monk, whose name was Brother Lucian, helped carry heavy baskets of clay from the river. His boots became covered in mud. His robe collected dust. For the first time in many years, he found himself doing work that left ink far behind. Oddly enough, he enjoyed it. Inside the workshop, the bellmaker began drawing circles across a smooth oak board. Large circles, perfect circles, again and again. Brother Lucian watched carefully. I've never seen so much measuring. The larger the bell, the smaller the mistake must be. Each line was checked, then checked again, sometimes erased, sometimes redrawn. The bellmaker never seemed frustrated, only patient. Several days later, the first layer of the great mold finally stood in the center of the workshop. It was taller than either man. Its smooth clay surface reflected the warm glow of the furnace. Children passing the open doorway often stopped in amazement. It looks like a tower. It looks like a giant vase. It looks like a mountain. The bellmaker simply smiled. It looks unfinished. That evening, Brother Lucian noticed the craftsman sitting quietly beside the mold. He wasn't working, he wasn't reading, he simply watched the clay slowly drying in the fading light. "You've done nothing for nearly an hour." The bellmaker nodded. "I know." "Why?" "Because the clay is working." Brother Lucian laughed softly. "I forget that not every kind of work belongs to people." The craftsman looked towards the mold. Some of the most important work never asks for our help. A gentle rain arrived during the night, not heavy, just enough to cool the valley. At dawn, the bellmaker hurried outside, not to protect the mold, to breathe. The rain is perfect. The monk looked up at the gray sky. "For making bells? For making patience." The monk smiled. He had lived among quiet brothers for many years, yet somehow this humble craftsman still found new ways to teach silence. As sunset painted the clouds with deep shades of gold and crimson, a young apprentice from a distant blacksmith's forge arrived carrying a leather satchel. He bowed respectfully. "My master sent me." "For what?" "He says, if anyone can teach me to shape bronze into music, it is you." The bellmaker looked at the enormous unfinished mold, then towards the hopeful young face standing in his doorway. For the first time in many years, he wondered whether the greatest thing he would build might not be a bell at all.
The royal messenger dismounted before the workshop without ceremony. His horse breathed heavily after the long climb through the valley, while tiny clouds of dust settled slowly around its hooves. Unlike merchants or pilgrims, the messenger wasted no time looking around the village. He carried only one purpose. Removing a polished oak chest from the back of his horse, he placed it carefully upon the bellmaker's workbench. A crimson wax seal bearing the royal crest rested upon the lid. The bellmaker studied it quietly. He had seen it before, many years ago. He simply had not expected to see it again. The messenger bowed respectfully. "The king sends his greetings." The bellmaker returned the bow. "And his request?" The messenger smiled gently. "It is inside." The chest was unlocked with a small brass key. Inside rested a rolled parchment tied with blue silk. Beneath it lay a handful of silver coins. Not payment, only enough to cover the messenger's journey. The bellmaker noticed immediately. The king understood something important. Great work could not be purchased in advance. It had to be earned. He unfolded the parchment. The handwriting was careful and surprisingly modest. "To the craftsmen whose bells have guided villages, monasteries, and travelers alike. Our cathedral is nearing completion. It has waited nearly 60 years for its greatest bell. If your hands are willing, we ask for your help. No other request will follow if you decline. The choice belongs entirely to you. There was no command, only an invitation. The bellmaker smiled. Kings who understood the difference were rare. The visiting monk quietly asked, "Will you accept?" The bellmaker did not answer immediately. Instead, he rolled the parchment closed once more and carried it toward the window. Outside, children crossed the village square carrying baskets of fresh bread. A shepherd guided sheep along the hillside. The familiar church bell echoed softly across the valley. Ordinary life continued. Finally, he spoke. A cathedral bell should never be made because a king asks. The monk looked puzzled. Then why? Because the people waiting beneath it deserve one. That afternoon, the workshop welcomed an unexpected visitor. An elderly woman carrying a small wicker basket. Fresh apples filled the basket almost to the top. She smiled warmly. "I heard another bell was born this week." The bellmaker nodded. It was. She placed the apples upon the workbench. "My grandson says your bells sound different." "Does he?" "He says they sound kinder." The craftsman laughed softly. "I hope they simply sound honest." The woman looked around the workshop. "I've always wanted to ask you something." "You may." "Why do you never carve your name?" The bellmaker gently polished the newly finished bell before answering. "When these bells ring, people should think about coming together, not about the person who made them." The woman nodded slowly. "I think I understand." "I'm not certain I do." He smiled. "But I've believed it for many years." As evening settled across St. Veron, the messenger prepared to leave. Before climbing onto his horse, he hesitated. The king included one more message. The bellmaker looked up. He said, "If you agree to build the cathedral bell, you may choose any inscription you wish." The workshop grew wonderfully quiet. Most craftsmen would have chosen their own name, or perhaps the royal crest. The bellmaker looked toward the finished bell hanging beside the stream. Its bronze surface reflected the golden light of sunset. After a long silence, he finally answered, "If I accept, the inscription will contain no names." The messenger smiled. "I thought you might say that." Long after the rider disappeared beyond the hills, the bellmaker remained beside the stream. The new bell swayed gently in the evening breeze, without ringing, simply waiting. He placed one hand upon the cool bronze. Closing his eyes, he remembered his own teacher, an old craftsman whose workshop had stood many miles away. A man who spoke very little, yet whose lessons remained clear even after 30 years. A bell is not made for the day it is hung. It is made for the child who has not yet been born. The bellmaker opened his eyes. Tomorrow,
he would begin gathering the bronze for the largest bell he had ever attempted. A bell that might continue ringing long after both kings and craftsmen had become names in forgotten books.
The bellmaker accepted the small bronze bell with both hands. It weighed almost nothing. Years of use had polished every curve until it felt as smooth as river stone. The elderly traveler watched quietly. "I found it in my grandfather's house. He said it had belonged to our family for longer than anyone could remember." The bellmaker turned the little bell toward the morning light. Its surface carried no decoration, no inscription, no maker's mark, only age. Beautiful, patient age. Adrian leaned closer. "It looks ordinary." The bellmaker smiled. "The oldest things often do." He gently lifted the bell beside his ear and moved it with the lightest touch. A clear, gentle note filled the workshop. Not loud, not powerful, simply pure. The sound lingered for several moments before fading into the quiet valley. Brother Lucian looked up from his notebook. "I've never heard such a small bell sound so full." The bellmaker nodded. "Neither have I." The elderly traveler slowly removed another object from his satchel, a folded piece of yellowed parchment. Its edges had become fragile with time. "My grandfather said this belonged with the bell." The bellmaker unfolded it carefully. The writing had faded. Only a few lines remained. Until one line asked someone to fix the bell. It said, "To whoever repairs this bell, do not make it louder. It already speaks exactly as it should." No signature appeared beneath the words, only a small drawing, a single oak leaf. The bellmaker stared quietly at the symbol. His expression changed. Brother Lucian noticed immediately. "You've seen that before." The craftsman nodded slowly. "Many years ago." He crossed the workshop toward an old wooden chest standing beneath the window. From inside, he removed a bundle of worn papers tied with linen cord. Most were old sketches, measurements, simple drawings of bells long since completed. Near the bottom rested a page almost as old as the traveler's parchment. In one corner, the same oak leaf had been drawn by hand. Adrian looked back and forth between the two pages. They match. They do. Who drew it? The bellmaker looked out through the workshop door toward the distant hills. My teacher. For several moments, no one spoke. The morning breeze drifted gently through the open doorway. Outside, the village slowly awakened beneath the fading mist. Finally, Adrian asked, "You knew the man who made this bell?" The bellmaker gently shook his head. "I don't know, but I knew the only craftsman who used this symbol." He carefully compared both drawings again. Every curve matched perfectly. The same steady hand, the same careful simplicity. "I believe my teacher repaired this bell. Not built it, repaired it." Brother Lucian looked surprised. "How can you tell?" "The shape is older than his work. The repair is his." Adrian examined the little bell once more. "So even great craftsmen repaired the work of others?" The bellmaker smiled. "Most of the time. I thought they preferred making new things." "Making something new is satisfying." He gently placed the small bell upon the workbench. Helping something old continue its life is often more important.
The traveler lowered his head. My village feared the bell was beyond saving. The bellmaker lifted it once again. He studied the narrow rim beneath its edge. A hairline crack stretched only a few inches. Tiny, almost invisible. There is damage. The traveler's face fell. So it cannot be repaired? The bellmaker smiled warmly. I didn't say that. He looked towards Adrian. What do you see? The apprentice leaned close. The crack. What else? Adrian looked longer this time. He noticed the worn rope, the loose wooden clapper, years of dust hidden inside the crown. Finally, he smiled. It needs care. The bellmaker nodded. Exactly. We repair more than cracks. For the rest of the afternoon, the cathedral bell waited untouched. Instead, master and apprentice worked together restoring the small family bell. They replaced the worn leather strap, carved a new oak clapper, cleaned away centuries of dust with soft brushes. The crack itself remained. The bellmaker made no attempt to erase it. Brother Lucian frowned. You left it. I did. Won't people see it? Perhaps. Shouldn't repairs disappear? The bellmaker smiled. No. Good repairs should be honest. As sunset painted the valley in warm shades of amber, the little bell rang once more. Its voice sounded gentle, clear, peaceful. The elderly traveler closed his eyes. A tear quietly rolled down his weathered cheek. It sounds exactly as I remember. The bellmaker handed him the bell with both hands. It always did. You simply helped it speak again. The old man bowed deeply before beginning the long journey home. As he disappeared along the forest road, Adrian watched him until he vanished between the trees. Then he turned back toward the giant cathedral mold standing silently in the workshop. Tomorrow, for the first time, the great bronze would be poured. And if even the smallest mistake were made, 60 days of careful preparation could be lost in a single moment.
Morning arrived without fanfare. No trumpet announced the day. No messenger hurried through the village. Only the familiar sound of birds greeting the sunrise and the quiet murmur of the stream beside the workshop. Inside, the great clay mold stood silently beneath its wooden shelter. 60 days of careful work had led to this single morning. Adrian barely slept. Long before dawn, he was already arranging tools exactly where his master preferred them. Iron tongs, wooden paddles, heavy ropes, buckets of dry sand. Everything rested in perfect order. The bellmaker noticed. You remembered. Adrian smiled nervously. I checked 3 times. The bellmaker nodded. Good. Now forget the tools. The apprentice looked confused. What should I remember instead? The old craftsman smiled. Your breathing. The workshop remained silent long after the messenger finished speaking. Only the sound of rain falling from the roof could be heard. Adrian looked first at the bellmaker, then at Brother Lucian. Finally, he asked the question everyone was thinking. The tower. Was anyone hurt? The messenger slowly nodded. A few stonemasons suffered minor injuries. They were fortunate. The collapse happened before sunrise. The square was empty. The bellmaker closed his eyes for a brief moment. Then we have much to be thankful for. The messenger removed another folded letter from inside his cloak.
Its edges were damp from the storm. The bishop asked me to bring this. The bell-maker opened it carefully. The writing was hurried. Do not continue if the bell has not yet been completed. The cathedral will require years of rebuilding. You have our deepest gratitude regardless of your decision. The bell-maker folded the letter without saying a word. Adrian looked disappointed. So, the bell will never hang there? The bell-maker looked toward the giant mold resting beneath the shelter. It will hang somewhere. A bell should never lose its purpose because a wall has fallen. For the next several days, rain continued across the valley. The workshop returned to its familiar rhythm. The furnace remained cold. The mold continued resting beneath layers of earth. Nothing could be hurried now. Brother Lucian noticed something unusual. The bellmaker no longer spoke about the cathedral. Instead, he spent his evenings repairing small village bells that had arrived during the storm. One belonged to a shepherd, another to a riverside chapel. A third had hung above a tiny schoolhouse. "They're so small," Adrian said. "They are. Shouldn't we be thinking about the great bell?" The bellmaker smiled gently. The people waiting for these bells don't think theirs are small. Nearly 3 weeks passed. The skies finally cleared. Warm sunlight returned to San Verran. The day had come. The great mold would be opened. Word spread quietly through the valley. No invitations were sent. None were needed. Before sunrise, villagers gathered outside the workshop once again. Children stood beside grandparents. Farmers removed their hats. Travelers delayed their journeys. Everyone waited patiently. The bellmaker picked up the same wooden mallet he had used hundreds of times before. Only this time, its task was much greater. One careful strike. A crack appeared across the clay. Another, then another. Small pieces fell away onto the ground. Hour after hour, the outer shell slowly disappeared. No one complained about the slow pace. After waiting nearly 3 weeks, another few hours seemed unimportant. At last, the crown of the great bell appeared. Golden bronze reflected the morning sunlight. A quiet murmur passed through the crowd, not because it was enormous, but because it was beautiful. Simple oak leaves circled its shoulder, nothing more. No royal crest, no family emblem, no elaborate decoration, only the quiet elegance the bellmaker had always preferred. Adrian helped brush away the final pieces of clay. The bell stood taller than either of them. Its smooth surface seemed almost alive beneath the sunlight. Brother Lucian smiled. It feels... He searched for the right word. Peaceful. The bellmaker nodded. That is what I hoped. The village blacksmith carefully attached heavy lifting ropes. Together, more than 20 people slowly raised the bell upright. Nobody rushed. Every movement was steady. The bellmaker watched silently until the bell rested safely beneath the old oak beam beside the stream. Its wooden clapper had already been carved weeks earlier. Only one thing remained, its first voice. The entire valley became still. Even the birds seemed to pause. The bellmaker stepped forward. He rested one hand gently upon the bronze, then looked toward Adrian. This belongs to you. The apprentice stared in surprise. Me? You helped build it. I've never rung a new bell. Neither had I, until someone trusted me. Adrian swallowed nervously. He wrapped both hands around the rope. The bellmaker gave one quiet nod.
The apprentice pulled. The great bell moved only slightly. Its clapper touched the bronze. One deep note rolled across the valley. It was unlike any sound the villagers had ever heard. Rich, warm, steady. The hills answered with gentle echoes. Birds rose from the nearby forest. Even the flowing stream seemed quieter for a moment. No one spoke until the final echo disappeared. An elderly farmer quietly removed his cap. "I've lived here for 70 years. I've never heard anything so beautiful." The bellmaker simply smiled. "It no longer belongs to me." That evening, as the sun disappeared beyond the western hills, a line of wagons entered Saint Véran, not carrying stone, not carrying timber, but carrying architects, master builders, and stonemasons from across the kingdom. The king had made his decision. The cathedral would not merely be repaired, it would be rebuilt, stronger than before, and the great bell would wait patiently until the day its tower was ready to welcome it home.
Years passed more quickly than anyone expected. The seasons continued their quiet procession across the valley. Spring covered the hills with wildflowers. Summer filled the orchards with fruit. Autumn painted the forests in gold and crimson. Winter wrapped Saint Vérine beneath peaceful blankets of snow. Through every season, the great bell waited inside the workshop, not forgotten, simply waiting for its proper home. The bellmaker visited it every morning. Sometimes he polished away a thin layer of dust. Sometimes he checked the oak clapper. Most mornings, he simply rested one hand upon the bronze before beginning the day's work. Adrian noticed the habit. "You still greet it." The bellmaker smiled. "I greet every bell." Meanwhile, far beyond the valley, the cathedral slowly rose once more, stone by stone, beam by beam. Master builders from every corner of the kingdom worked together. The new tower climbed higher than the old one had ever stood. Its foundations reached deeper into the earth. Its walls grew thicker. Everyone remembered the terrible storm. No one wished to repeat its lesson. One bright spring morning, a familiar rider appeared on the road. This time, his horse walked calmly. There was no urgency, no fear, only quiet purpose. The royal messenger dismounted and smiled before speaking. "The tower is finished." Silence filled the workshop. Adrian looked toward his master. The bellmaker closed his eyes for only a moment, then he nodded. "It is time." Moving the bell required nearly 40 people. Heavy wagons reinforced with oak beams stood waiting outside. 6 powerful horses were harnessed together. Thick hemp ropes wrapped carefully around the bronze. Every knot was checked, then checked again. The bellmaker inspected each one himself. Brother Lucien smiled. "You trust your work." "I do." "You don't trust rope." The bellmaker laughed softly. "I trust rope. I simply prefer certainty." The journey to the cathedral lasted 5 days. Villagers gathered beside roads to watch the enormous bell pass. Children waved. Farmers removed their hats. Old church bells rang quietly from distant villages as though greeting their newest companion. No one knew the bellmaker's name, but everyone admired his work. He seemed perfectly content with that. When the wagons finally reached the great cathedral, the bellmaker stood silently beneath the enormous tower. For several minutes, he simply looked upward. The tower stretched into the blue sky. Stone windows shimmered in the afternoon sunlight. Hundreds of craftsmen had devoted years to rebuilding it. "It is beautiful," Adrian whispered. The bellmaker nodded. "So are the hands that built it."
Raising the bell into the tower took an entire day. Massive wooden cranes slowly lifted it higher and higher. Each turn of the great lifting wheel echoed through the cathedral square. People watched in complete silence. No one wished to distract the workers. As sunset approached, the bell finally settled into its new home, perfectly balanced, waiting. The bishop approached the bellmaker carrying a small chisel. "We have one task remaining." The old craftsman looked at him. The inscription. "You may still choose it." The bishop smiled warmly. "There is room enough for any name you wish." The bellmaker gently accepted the chisel. He stood before the great bell for several quiet moments. Then, instead of carving his own name, he carefully engraved only 7 simple words. "May every voice call people toward peace." Nothing more. No signature, no date, no family crest. Only a wish. The bishop quietly smiled. "I hoped you would choose something like that." The next morning, thousands gathered before the cathedral. The square overflowed with families, travelers, merchants, monks, and craftsmen. The king himself stood quietly among them, not upon a grand platform, simply beside everyone else. The bishop nodded toward the bell tower. The rope was pulled. For one long moment, nothing happened. Then the great bell spoke. Its voice rolled across rooftops, across rivers, across distant fields. It echoed through the surrounding hills before slowly fading into the morning sky. Many people smiled. Some quietly wept. Children looked upward in wonder. The king removed his crown, not for ceremony, for respect. As the crowd slowly dispersed, the king approached the bellmaker. "I should thank you." The bellmaker smiled gently. "You already have. I never even learned your name." The bellmaker looked toward the bell high above the city. "My name would not help it ring any better." The king laughed softly. "No, I suppose it wouldn't." Many years later, after the bellmaker had quietly passed away, Adrian inherited the little workshop beside the stream. He continued making bells, not exactly like his teacher, no student ever truly does, but with the same patience, the same care, the same quiet respect for ordinary work done well. People often asked him the same question: "Who taught you?" Adrian always smiled before answering, a man whose name mattered less than his work. Centuries later, many of the bellmaker's bells still rang across old villages and quiet valleys. Historians searched records, scholars debated his identity. They never reached complete agreement. His name slowly disappeared into history. But every sunrise, whenever one of his bells welcomed a new day, his work continued speaking. And perhaps that was exactly how he had always hoped to be remembered.